Well, good morning everybody. My name is Jim and this is Sprague Woodturning. Welcome to my channel. So this week, hopefully you enjoyed fixing the bottom of the bowls last week. It was fun to do, a lot of great comments. So thank you so much for tuning in to watch that. So this week, again, is going to be another inlay. And what I'm going to do is, this is a walnut bowl. And as you can see, it's already got the glue block on the bottom of it, or waste block. So I'm going to take, we actually had to replace the stove inside the house, and this is actually the cord off of it. So what I'm going to do is cut this off. This is stranded wire that's in the cord, of course, and twist it in the bottom, and I'm going to put it in the end of the bowl facing upwards like this. And I'll go all the way around the bowl with it, probably every inch or so. I'll install one of these. So, and around it, we're going to take white alabaster and crush it up. And one of the properties of alabaster is it's translucent. So hopefully we'll be able to see some sort of a starburst effect coming up out of the alabaster. Anyway, that's the plan. I've never done this inlay before, so we'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's it. So if you haven't subscribed, please consider doing so. And for those who have, thank you so much. We're almost probably at 10,000 by the time this airs, so thank you so much. So anyway, let's get to the lathe, get the bowl trimmed up. I am going to put a coat of finish on it, and then we'll do the inlay after the finish dries. Okay, so I've already drilled one hole, and this is a 5/32 bit. Just find the right size bit that'll fit your wire. And I've drilled one hole and kind of stuck the wire in there, and I realize that kind of looks really bad right now, but this is probably too long. I'll make them shorter when they go in the holes. Anyway, I'm just going to drill a series of holes all the way around, inside in the center, being careful, of course, not to go like this or like this, straight on to into the bowl, and then you won't have any issues as far as going through the sides. And then when that's done, I'll pull this wire out, put a coat finish on it. All right, so there's our holes done. I didn't measure them. I just randomly went across. They're probably about an inch apart-ish. And so anyway, let's get a coat of finish on this, and then we can get on with this fancy inlay. Okay, this is wood bowl finish from General Finishes. There'll be a link in the description to the General website where you can actually hopefully find a dealer if you want to get some. And there's a couple of reasons for me doing this. If you're new here, I use thin CA glue. So of course there's a risk that it will spill over into the bowl. And if it's on the end grain, there's a good chance that it will stain the end grain. So we don't want that to happen. The other real big thing is the CA glue is so thin that it has a tendency to wick through the end grain from the inside of the bowl, from the inlay to the inside of the bowl and outside. So if you can seal up those pores to slow that down or, negate it, then that's probably going to be a good thing too. You're just going to maybe have a little bit more darker on the outside and inside. If you don't, that may bother some people, it may not. It kind of bothers me, so that's why I do it. So there, I'll leave that on good and heavy, let it soak in for a minute. If it doesn't get soaked in, I'll wipe it away. So anyway, this will go into the drying room. Hopefully, 3 or 4 hours, I should be able to do the inlay in it. And we'll bring it out, put the wire in first, and then put the alabaster around it. So I want to get right down in here. I really want to seal this up. Yeah, the first coat, I always give it as much as it'll take. That noise is actually just the, I've got a chuck on the inboard end of the lathe. And yes, I'm on the outboard end of my lathe. I'm left-handed. This lathe has left-hand threads, if you're wondering why we're on the outboard end. Just more comfortable for me. That'll give that end grain protection from glue runs. Okay, so I get asked this a lot, how do I make my inlay materials? This is just a steel plate. Of course, a hammer. This is a piece of 4-inch plastic conduit, and I just put that over top to keep it from going everywhere when I'm hammering. Of course, a container to put it in. This is a fine strainer. So I'll take the steel plate, put it over here, brush all of the material into the strainer. I'll sift it out. The larger stuff I'll put back on the steel plate and just keep doing that until it all goes through here so it's all a uniform thickness. And yes, I know there's all kinds of mechanical things you could buy or make to do this. This is just a simple way that everybody can do it. So there, I'll just do that until I fill up my container, and then that's it. I'll be ready for the inlay. All right, so anyway, that's lots of material. So while we're waiting for the finish to cure, it's time to do the nasty. Okay, so this is one of the strands out of that really large wire. And anyway, I'm just going to use a knife here, ever so carefully, and try and strip off this insulation. Try not to dig into the copper wire, of course. That works pretty good, actually. Careful not to get yourself, of course. You don't want to do that. Alright, so I've got all the strands, trying not to leave any behind. Just peel the insulation off. If we lose a few, then we lose a few. It's not the end of the world. There. I'm hoping that this is going to be enough to get the job done. Okay, so the finish is dry. And what I'm doing here, you can see I've already got a couple of them in. I'm going to cut this wire off, probably a little longer than an inch, with some side cutters. And what I'm going to do is actually split this in half, because there's just too much of it, I think. Twist up the ends. And drop it down, hopefully in the hole. There. Some of these are longer than others. That's not a big deal. Kind of fan that out. Straighten a few of these up. It is definitely a finicky inlay, that is for sure. But I think it's going to be a really cool one. So I'm just going to keep going around here and do all these. And then we'll put the alabaster in. Okay, so we've got all of the copper wire in. This is actually all that's left. And I was originally going to fill this all the way up, but I think what I'm going to do is kind of fill it up halfway with the white alabaster. And then I'll fan these open. And then I'll use the thin CA glue from Starbond, and there's a link in the description. You can get 10% at checkout. Just use Inlay Jim. And so anyway, I'll fan these out, put the glue on there, and then fill it all in around it, and then let it sit overnight. My concern about, I originally was going to glue the wires in, but you'd have to fan them completely open in order to do that. And when you do that, I'm a little worried about the glue wicking up the wire and sealing it kind of shut. And I know there's a lot of people that have said, how come you don't use something other than this? Way too much in there. It's always good to have tools like this. It's a little pick tool. So there, I am going to fan these wires out now. Again, I really don't know how this is going to look. I think it's going to look kind of cool, but you never know until you've done one. And of course, tomorrow after this all sets, I'll just shear that off with the gouge. That shouldn't be a problem as long as the gouge is good and sharp. Might possibly sand it off just to make sure I don't pull any of them out. There. That is definitely one of the strangest inlays I've ever done. So let's hit it with the glue here and see what happens. Anytime you've got a deep inlay like this, it's probably best to put this glue in, the thin CA in layers. And again, if you're new here, I've got tons of this inlay stuff on my account, or I should say on my channel. Check it out. Okay, so just going to go around, bring this up to the surface. Again with the glue. Make sure that the inlay is good and wet, so you don't have any dry spots. All right, so that's it. We'll let that sit overnight and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, let's give this a haircut. Okay, so I don't know if you guys caught that or not. The reason why I wore that glove is because I was worried about this this copper being embedded in my hand. Very surprised that it was so hard to cut back. This alabaster usually tools back pretty easy, but this copper embedded in it has really made it really hard to turn back. So that's why I went to sanding. I was also worried about breaking off some of these copper pieces, so I didn't want that to happen either. So anyway, here's our second filling. Should get a better look at the copper this time around. If you're curious what that noise in the background, that's actually my fridge kiln, which I'll do an update on actually tomorrow. I'll include it in this video. There, we'll let that sit for a couple of minutes, let that all wick in, and then I will use the accelerator from Starbond as well. This is the second coat. Again, this is wood bowl finish by General Finishes. There's a link in the description for the General website. There, we'll get an idea of what this is really going to look like once we get some finish on it here. Well, I must say it is different. I think it's pretty neat, actually. Okay, so I said I would do regular updates on the fridge kiln, so that's what I'm doing now. I discussed possibly using RTV silicone in the back on the dampener, and I did that, and that has made a remarkable improvement in how fast the kiln actually gets up to temperature. So if you do buy an exhaust fan, bathroom exhaust fan, make sure that it does have a dampener in it, and check the tolerances around it. And if the tolerances are bad, just put the silicone on one side and on the other, and then that way it doesn't impede the function of the dampener, and when it shuts off, it's got something to seal up against. It was really sloppy in around this one. So anyway, bowls went in on the 9th of September. I set the controller at 25 degrees Celsius, and they're at 20%. After 4 days, I said, I'm going to bump the temperature up. So on the 13th of September, they went in at 30 degrees Celsius. And when I measured the bowls in, they're around 18%. And what I did these times over here, it's just basically how long it took for the kiln to cool down and how long it took for it to heat up. So I haven't taken an average of it, but you know, it's probably around 9.5 minutes for it to cool down, and somewhere's around 18 minutes for it to heat up again. So that's good. I'm going to leave them at 30 degrees Celsius for now. And anyway, we'll see what they are next week. So I did get some cracking. Anyway, I just used a dry erase marker, and when this is all done, I'll just clean it all off and start again. Now, this is a very common area that I find a lot of wood bowls crack, and that's along the bottom here. Now, I don't know if you pick that up or not. Anyway, when a bowl dries, it wants to pull in on itself, so they do tend to crack back here. The thing is, if you use thin CA glue, that's how you actually stop this. These bowls are quite thick on the base, so as long as you've got that thickness on the base of the bowls, you're not going to have any problems turning that away. What else? So 2 or 3 of them have done that. And to show you the difference, so this is cherry, and look at the movement in this. Crazy, eh? Anyway, it did get some cracks here. And again, this isn't a real big deal. I'll just do an inlay there. That's not a big deal at all. But this is at about 14% now. So it's moved. It's actually drying a lot faster than the walnut did. Or than the walnut is, I should say. All the bowls on the door, they've been fine. So, and the other thing I've done is I've rotated the bowls that were on the top are now on the bottom, and vice versa. I've left the ones in the center in the same spot. So anyway, we'll let this stay at 30 degrees Celsius, and we'll see what happens. And again, I'll do another update next week and let you know what's going on. All right, let's get this off the waste block and get this foot done. Well, all right, that's it. We're all done. 3 coats of wood bowl finish by Journal Finishes. I used 4-0 steel wool between applications. The bottom is done. It still needs 1 more coat of finish, but I've got to get this video done and upload it. Then the inlay, again, I'll put some stills up at the end. I realize that this GoPro probably doesn't shoot the best video, but you know, it's very cool. And I mean, this is kind of what I do to develop inlay ideas. I just throw things together to see if they work. Now, I've used alabaster and copper before, but I've never used in kind of a stranded wire. So it's neat. Labor intensive, but it's neat. But anyway, I'm curious to see what your thoughts are on this. So if you can comment down below, that would be awesome. I try to answer every comment. If it's not in English, though, I'm sorry, I can't answer it because I don't know what you're saying. I only speak English. Yeah, so next week's going to be another inlay. I'm going to do another update on the fridge kiln, and so make sure you come back for that. So yeah, that's it. Till next week, take care, stay safe, and don't forget that bell, you know, when I put up a new video. See ya.